I recently upgraded the controller board in my K40 laser, and there's a video up there that I will link to, and it's been the best thing that I've ever done, enabling me to run Lightburn and produce images like this on slate. This one is unvarnished. I'm particularly happy with this picture of the Virgin on a glazed slate. Very, very useful upgrade. One of the things that I'm missing though is that it has disabled the test function. That's obviously necessary when setting up the mirrors on the laser. I also added an LED pointer which I need to line up, and the test fire function is very useful for that. As the test function doesn't work anymore, I'm going to show you two ways that we can achieve the same result using Lightburn. Also, please stick around to the end. There will be some extra information on how to troubleshoot any problems that you might have with G-code. Just before moving over to Lightburn, there was something I omitted to mention. Although it has disabled the test switch, the actual laser enable or override safety button is still working. When the button is depressed like that, the tube is active, and in the up position nothing is going to happen. That is the button that I'm going to be using for our tests today. In Lightburn then, there is clearly a fire button down here. Now there are dire warnings which you should understand. Normally you should not use the fire button with a CO2 laser, as you have no control over the time for which the tube is going to be active. You can set the power here. I've set it down as low as my laser will fire at 6%, but heed those warnings. The only reason I can do this is because I have that laser tube enable button on the K40. Sorry about the machine noise, it's got to be active clearly. I have a piece of scrap wood in the machine, and there you can see my little red laser pointer, and it does tend to wander around, so I need to make sure that it's actually pointing in the right place. Double checking now that the laser is disabled. In Lightburn we go ahead and fire the laser. Clearly nothing is going to happen. That is until I activate the switch. It's not actually firing. I'm going to need to tweak the power up a little. If we put 10 in there, it's sure to fire. So with the red around the thing there, enabling it again, and we can see the burned spot that I can use now to check. My pointer is just a little bit up and to the left. Not very scientific, but that's the only way I can do it right now. The manual override then, yes, it does work, but use that at your own risk. So I move my piece of scrap wood now. I'll show you a more sophisticated method. In the window, if we open our console, we can see at the bottom here where we can set up macros. If we look at the macro that I've set up here, it enables the laser, sets the power to 10%, switches it on for 100 milliseconds, and then switches the laser off. At the moment my laser is not enabled. Let me enable it. Now then, with the laser enabled, let me just pull this console down here. You can see what's going on, and hit test fire. We can now see, as it was a much shorter pulse, that the little spot that it's generated is much smaller. Once again now, just checking with my red laser pointer, it's in the correct place. Let me switch the laser off now. save some of that noise. That is really all there is to it. Now this macro applies to my K40 with my modified controller board. Your mileage may vary, you may have to play around with these commands. How did I arrive at these values anyway? The power of S100 is the same as the 10% here. The time of 100 milliseconds, you can play with that. I think it has to be in multiples of tenth of a second. My top tip then, as you can see here in the console window, if you show all, you can see exactly what the commands Lightburn is sending to the controller board in the machine. Now with the K40 powered off, we're in no danger of blinding ourselves, he said confidently. Therefore, if we go down to the fire button and press it, we can see here what it's actually sent to the tube. As the fire button is still active, what it's actually done is to switch the laser on at a power of 10% and just left it there. If we now turn the laser off, we can see the S0, so the power down to 0, G0 and M5, just resetting the machine and turning the laser off. One final tip before we go. You can see here a macro called $. Perhaps you're unaware of that feature. If you send $, to your controller, the output that it sends, we can see here from $, is all the variables that the controller has been set to. One of the interesting ones here is $30. $30 then is the maximum power value that you can send to the laser. So there's some interesting stuff in there if you're inclined. I hope you found the information in this video useful, and I can get back now to making some more slates. Thanks for watching.